everybody, from Common Room Radio. I'm Sarah Kate Bazan, and shut up and take me to beer.
I'm Alistair Stevens. Can't hear you over how mysterious I am.
And I'm Vinton Bain, and as far as I'm concerned, not eating burgers is an emergency.
And welcome to Excelsior. This week we are talking about the first trade of Patsy Walker, A.K.A. Hellcat, written by Kate Leth and illustrated by Brittany Williams, with the last issue illustrated by Natasha Allegri. And I love this comic.
This is so funny. It is so good. It is so sharp. Kate Leth, can we just say right up front, national treasure, international treasure.
Yes. No, Kate Leth is great. I love her. She's perfect. And also she helped me to realize just how queer I am, which I super appreciate.
I think that's one of her life goals.
Yes, so absolutely.
Helping people realize
nailing it, Kate. You totally got it. I support her on Patreon, and you should too.
Between that and writing amazing comic books.
Yes.
She's doing the good work.
Yep.
I would say the two words I would use to describe this comic are pure and charming.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. This was the very first comic that I ever owned that wasn't like a manga, which I owned a shit ton of whenever I was in my very early teen years, collecting like all of the Sailor Moons and basically everything that Clamp did. So like Cardcaptor Sakura and Chobits and Magic Knight Ray Earth and all of that stuff. But yeah, this was my very first foray into mainstream superhero comics. And it was because Vinton, I think you were there, or maybe it was Nathan and Alan.
You were there, and
you were there, and you were there. But we were at the comic book shop, and somebody picked it up and flipped to the panel where they make a Wicked reference, and someone said, "Sarah, you need to buy this comic immediately, instantaneously."
I think that was me.
I think it was too.
Think it was me.
Yeah. And so I did, and I've never looked back.
And you've both been telling me for the last, year that I need to be reading this book, and I haven't been. This is my first time through the first trade, and it's delightful. It's joyous.
So delightful.
And we should say that the first volume collects the issues 1 through 6, if you're following along, but not following along by trade.
Sure.
And the first volume is also called Hooked on a Feline,
which I love.
We're not afraid of cat puns in this book, you guys.
Of course we're not.
We embrace them.
Yes.
So this is the first story, which occupies the first 5 issues, and then we get this bonus issue, this fill-in issue about Arcade, which, as a big X-Men fan, I was super into.
Right.
Pretty great to see Arcade again.
And then it does tie in a little bit at the very end,
sure,
hinting at what is to come.
Yes.
But before we jump into talking about our story, let's flip over the old VHS. In her youth, Patsy Walker's life was exploited with exaggeration by her mother in an Archie-esque comic. She later became the hero known as Hellcat, died, went through literal hell, came back and worked for She-Hulk as a detective. Now she is unemployed and homeless, trying to give a hand up to powered folks who don't want tights and crime fighting. To start her company, she will have to face the most insidious of evils, a retail job. With definitely not the Enchantress assembling a team of super what-have-yous, Patsy's life is about to get even more complicated. Oh, cats, it's going to take a lot of burgers and friendship to make it through this adventure in one piece.
Excelsior is turning into Vinton's audition reel for writing preview solicits for Marvel, and I'm super into it.
And he needs to very badly.
very badly.
So as we've mentioned, this comic is written by Kate Leth, who got her start doing web comics for herself. She got the attention of Boom Studios and worked on Adventure Time, Bravest Warriors, and more. She also worked on Vampirella for Dynamite, which was fantastic and a great breath of fresh air to that series. And she does a podcast, or did a podcast. She hasn't put a new episode out in about a year, called Less Than Live with Kate or Die, which was the name of her webcomic. It's illustrated by Brittany Williams, who also worked for Boom, doing art for Goldie Vance and Garfield. She also did art for the comic company IDW for Samurai Jack.
I love Samurai Jack.
Her and Leth were picked to do a Secret Wars issue by Marvel, which led to the duo working on this title. Megan Wilson does the colors. Megan is an engineer for GE in the renewable energy business, wind and aerodynamics and acoustics team. She has done color for multiple comics, but most notably to me, she is currently working on Unstoppable Wasp.
Huh.
I mean, sure, saving the world in the daytime, coloring comics in the nighttime.
That's right.
That's a pretty good
Megan
life.
Wilson.
Yeah, I also love
Fantastic.
Unstoppable Wasp, and I can't wait for us to be able to sit down and talk about that series at some point, which I feel like is also pure and delightful and cinnamon roll-esque.
So, Sarah, you mentioned that you found out about Hellcat through this series.
Yes.
Alistair, did you have any history on Hellcat before coming into this?
No, not really. I could have identified her in a lineup of Marvel characters, but that was pretty much it. And now I'm in. This is another one where we've covered the first volume, and I'm going to go immediately after this recording and read everything else that there is out there because I just love doing this show, you guys. I learned so much.
Yeah, Hellcat has been a hero that has been in my peripheral vision when reading comic books. She showed up here and there, been on the Defenders, the Avengers, and so I've recognized her face, but I didn't really know much of anything about her and her history. And of course, I recognize the old romantic comics, Patsy Walker.
Sure.
Okay, so can we talk about that really quick? Is that was a real thing?
Yes.
What? How did we go from an Archie comic to Marvel
let me
superhero?
break it down for you.
Please.
Hellcat, also known as Patricia Patsy Walker, premiered as the star of a teen romantic comedy series in the 40s and was later integrated into the main Marvel universe, being a part of the Avengers and the Defenders. Created by Otto Binder and Ruth Atkinson, Patsy Walker first appeared in Miss America Magazine #2 in 1944, published by Marvel's precursor Timely Comics, and became Hellcat in the Avengers in #144 in 1976. Also, random note that most of us probably know, but just in case anyone's listening, Rachel Taylor plays a version of the character also called Trish Walker in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for Netflix on Jessica Jones.
And I love her there too.
She's magnificent.
She's so good.
Yes.
In fiction, what happened here? Patsy Walker was the only daughter of Dorothy Walker, a comic book writer who exploited her daughter's childhood to make the popular Patsy Walker comic book. Patsy married her childhood friend, Robert Baxter, who joined the Air Force, and on a base, she met X-Men's Beast, who in exchange for keeping his secret identity, promised to help Patsy become a superhero one day. As her marriage came to a bitter end, she sought out Beast, now on the Avengers, to remind him of this promise. She found the costume formerly used by Greer Nelson, the Cat, which I think we've mentioned previously on a podcast, but I can't remember which one. But I remember us mentioning it.
Yeah,
it might have been on Mockingbird talking about some random history there.
Oh, sure.
Maybe
but
so.
I don't really remember. So she took the costume and gave herself the nickname Hellcat, using her natural athletic abilities to help the Avengers. Moondragon trained Hellcat, and she discovered some minor psionic potential and was given extensive martial arts training. She then joined the Defenders, where she befriends Valkyrie and falls in love with Damien Hellstrom, known as Son of Satan. The two married and went on to help the Avengers from time to time. Her husband's dark demonic part took over, though, and drove Patsy mad, languishing in a near vegetable state for months until the mercy-killing entity known as Death Urge sensed her despair and, at her request, freed her spirit from her body. Patsy fought alongside fallen Avenger Mockingbird in Hell before being rescued and restored bodily. I was waiting for it. I kept
knew
pausing,
what the
waiting
hell
for
was
it.
coming, just didn't know when it was going to show up. That's very good.
Before being rescued and restored bodily to Earth by the Thunderbolts, who were trying to save Mockingbird, led by Hawkeye. Patsy was depressed about her perceived failures and wrote an autobiography before her town was taken over by demonic forces, and she teamed back up with the Avengers as Hellcat once again. Going on to help Mephisto thwart Dormammu's plans to overtake Hell and convincing Mephisto to let her once again return to Earth, and once again joining back with the Defenders for a short time. Hellcat also briefly joined Misty Knight's all-woman superhero team, but stayed on only for a little bit before being hired as an investigator for She-Hulk's new law firm, which brings us to this title.
And at some point in the future, we're going to have to talk about Jessica Walters. We're going to have to
Yes.
talk about She-Hulk
Yes.
because she's a fantastic character.
There's a lot of cool stuff to talk about when it comes to her.
Yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to that. So
you're a little surprised, Sarah, that Patsy Walker spent some time in Hell fighting alongside Mockingbird?
Well, here's the thing. We've gone through a lot of just completely bonkers comic backstory on this show, but I did not realize that two of my very favorite comics characters, Mockingbird and Hellcat, were so closely tied together. I remember when Hellcat popped up in one of the panels in the Chelsea Kane Mockingbird run, and I got really stoked, and I was like, oh, well, I mean, they're just making cameos everywhere. That's just what they do. But, like, are they buds? Like, that makes me very excited.
They were buds in Hell.
Yeah.
They
you know
were
when people
buds
say, I'll
in
see
hell.
you in Hell? That they literally did.
They did. Oh God, I just want, is there a buddy cop like Patsy and Bobby hanging out in Hell thing? I need it very badly.
We can track down those issues for you.
Excellent.
So, let's dive into issue 1. We open the issue with Patsy trying to pitch this new idea that she has to She-Hulk and She-Hulk's landlord. The idea she has is written up on a board, and it says, Super Temp, the Patsy Walker agency for heroes and other cool friends what are in need of work.
And that was where this comic really got me. I mean, immediately right off the bat, I love how colorful it is. I love the art style. I love absolutely everything about this comic. I love the writing. I love all of it. All of it. It's so, so good. And it didn't matter that I didn't know any of that stuff about Patsy hanging out in Hell and fighting alongside Mockingbird and all that. I was in from minute one.
She-Hulk and Landlord Sharon are very confused, so we jump to tell the backstory behind this. And we get a small recap page, mostly of stuff that I've already told you, but just to run through it, some Patsy facts. Her mom wrote romance comics about her teen years. Pretty weird mom. She has not had the greatest love life. I mean, yikes. Powers include butt kicking and butt punching, which she learned on the moon, and more. These days, she works as an investigator for Jennifer Walters. You might remember Jen from the last page. It says, because she's She-Hulk.
Yes.
It then also tells us that she can also sense mystical energy. And she senses something when somebody robs a truck full of money, a bank truck, supposedly, of some sort. She tries to apprehend this Inhuman after he robbed the truck, and we find out that the Inhuman goofily named himself Telekinean because he's telekinetic, and his name is Ian.
I love Ian so much.
What's really convenient about this book is that you can listen to that 30-second recap of the first few pages of the first issue and know for sure whether this book is for you.
Yeah,
That's
no,
100%
absolutely.
I
right
think
there.
so.
Yes.
Yep.
Pretty weird mom, Telekinean. Yes, this is everything. This is the entire book, except for the way that Kate Leth leans on the comic format to make a commentary about comics in general and Hellcat in particular. I love how reflexive this series is, the way that she talks about comic books when she's writing this comic book.
Yes.
It's really beautifully done and shows that Kate Leth, in common, I think, with Chelsea Cain, who was a writer who I was reminded by constantly reading this book, she has such a profound awareness of the form.
Yeah.
She's not just writing a story that happens to be a comic book. This could be nothing other than a comic book. And I love that because it feels so often as though in the big crossover blockbuster titles that we get from Marvel, that we get from DC, that we're kind of losing track of that these are just stories, they're basically movie storyboards
right.
that are being laid out for us, and that is not true in Hellcat, and I just adore it for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have mentioned back when I was talking about the history that it's really fascinating about Patsy Walker because, like we said, she was in those romance comics. And then later when Marvel became its own thing, started focusing on superhero comics, she was reintroduced into that world. And eventually they were like, we want to do something with her as some kind of hero. And they decided to make the comics a real thing, but in the history, in
Which
the
is
world
so
of Marvel Comics, because it wasn't even technically Marvel that produced those comics. It was timely. So like, let's just talk about it as if it was a comic in the universe.
Right.
And the Netflix series actually follows that pretty closely with talking about her mom raising her a certain way, exploiting her and doing those things.
Yeah, no, it's a wildly interesting concept and I think works out beautifully. I mean, whenever I was learning about this, I thought, okay, this is all fiction, right? This couldn't possibly have actually happened. They didn't really just like look at an Archie comic and go, you know what? Archie is Superman now. And we're just doing that. But they did, and it's perfect.
I think there probably is an Archie comic where that's happened.
Almost certainly. There's certainly one where he's dead. So, you know, you can do anything with
and
Archie.
Then there's Riverdale.
Pretty
but anyway.
This is actually true to the 616. In the 616 universe, particularly back in the 60s and the 70s, Marvel comics were being printed. The idea was that these were almost documentary comics about heroes that were operating in the real world. So there are lots of issues of the Fantastic Four where you find Ben Grimm reading an issue of the Fantastic Four, oftentimes the previous issue, which I kind of love.
That's amazing.
He doesn't know what's going to happen, but he knows what just happened.
He's recapping.
Yeah. So this idea is so rich and so complex and so fascinating and dealt with so lightly in the pages of this book. I just love it. We get these hints of real darkness and torment in Patsy's past, but it never overshadows who she is. It never overshadows who she is on a fundamental level. The word I keep coming back to is simply joyous.
Yes.
It's so exuberant and full of life. And I can absolutely see why this book spoke to you so powerfully, Sarah.
Yes. Yep. All of those things are true. Yes.
Even as we get the transition, when she meets Telekinean for the first time, I just hate that so much. I hate it in exactly the right way. When she meets him for the first time, we get the first kind of model break. And it's interesting that you mentioned owning a lot of manga before you bought this book, because we get some really chibi drawings of Patsy as we move through here. We're perfectly willing to break model in order to explore her emotional space.
Yeah, which I really adore. And I suppose, I mean, you saying that now makes me realize that was a style that really, really spoke to me because I absolutely grew up on that style and like starting to read comics and get into like all of the manga that I had and stuff like that. I mean, like that was, I mean, in 1 second you've got Sailor Moon being super big and powerful and like fighting like the galactic eater of all universes or whatever. And then the next, she's 2 inches tall and screaming about rice balls. I'm into it. Like it works for me. That's me. That's me in real life. If I could take make a chibi format, I would on the reg.
I don't know how we've got 20 minutes into this podcast and we haven't yet discussed one of the reasons that we're talking about Hellcat is that Hellcat is you in real life.
Hellcat is me in real life. Yes. Yep. It took about 5 minutes of reading this comic for me to go, oh my God, I am Patsy Walker as written by Kate Leff, and I'm very into that.
We're all very into that.
So the two fight for a moment before Ian quotes Wicked, and they stop their fight to have a fun little chat and share their love of Wicked.
Have either of you listened to or seen Wicked?
I've listened to parts of it. I have not seen it.
I haven't seen it.
As they talk about in the comic, they have yet to release a visual format of this.
Sure. I have seen that musical 5 times because...
How is that even possible?
Well, because it's my dad and Mai's favorite musical.
Wow.
And every time it comes through Oklahoma, whether it's in Oklahoma City or Tulsa, we get tickets and we go see it. So I have seen this show 5 times. I love it very, very much. I fondly remember being 16 years old and driving around with my dad and wearing out that CD over and over and over and over again. We had seen it so often that we were able to like grade performances against other performances. We're like, well, this Glinda was all right, but she was no like Glinda the last time we went and saw it. Like I liked her way better in her performance and blah, blah. Like we got very like highbrow critical of this show.
I've always wanted to see it.
It's really good. It's a good show.
So Hellcat tries to see why Ian would go villain, but she is interrupted by a shriek and helps a woman recover some theater tickets that her boyfriend angrily threw in a gutter. Ian helps reclaim the tickets and scare the mean boyfriend. She finds out that Ian was actually trying to return the money that he had stolen, but then the truck was gone when he went back. She helps him return the money, and then they talk to She-Hulk to try to get Ian a job.
I love how Jennifer's like, I'm a lawyer. You can't tell me these things.
She says, so he's a criminal, and Patsy says, yeah, but only a teeny tiny bit. Little criminal. Crim. He did good.
She's so good, God.
We also get here the first appearance of what is basically Patsy's primary power. She can make her costume appear and disappear whenever she wants to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty great. We don't have to worry about any
really
of that
convenient.
Stuff. Yeah, just that should be a primary power for more heroes, I think.
Yes.
It really should. Hi, I'm Spider-Man, and I got a new power. I can make my costume appear.
Yes.
She-Hulk not only can't afford to hire Ian, but also can't afford to continue Patsy's employment. In anger, Patsy spills coffee on She-Hulk, who stands up intimidatingly and throws them out. I love that scene too, because she goes from being like cartoony and sweet to like big and intimidating.
Yeah,
like,
and scary with like the shadows and everything.
You're the She-Hulk. Okay, that's fine.
Whoops.
Mistakes have been made.
Then the landlord, Sharon, tells Patsy that she knows that she's been living in the storage closet and
Wait. Can we just...
Patsy, can you come over here?
Oh, hey, Sharon. You mean at that storage room that I've definitely never been in before? Found me out, huh?
I'm no investigator, but it kind of looks like you've been living in here.
Man, today is aggressively not my day.
But look, I'm helpful. I already packed most of your things. This is Patsy's life, you guys.
Yeah, and I'm wicked into it. Wicked. I did a thing.
Right at the end of the page, Ian says to her, hey, listen, I know I just met you and this is crazy, but...
Well, obviously, Carly Rae Jepsen reference, because here's the thing about Kate Leff also, which is another reason why I just adore her so very much. She's a huge fan of the McElroys.
Yes.
And there are, I mean, at least 3 McElroy joke references slipped in throughout this comic, which is fantastic. There's,
I think I only caught it. Don't tell me. Tell me as we go.
Okay, well, I think there may be only 2 in the first trade, but later, whenever we run into Jubilee and we see Jubilee's little vampire toddler baby, and Patsy is talking about like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage's baby, and she mentions how they're pretty cool babies.
That's very good.
What's up, you cool babies?
What's up, you cool babies?
I didn't know that we were going to introduce Jubilee. I've already said that I'm going to read the rest of this. I'm going to read the rest of this very quickly, apparently.
Yeah, no, she shows
Jubilee
up.
Is
and
one
I
of my
have so many
characters.
questions because she's a teenage vampire with a toddler?
Yep.
Cool.
Well, and teenage, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Ages are weird.
Yes.
I have a lot to ask about at some point.
Ian offers that she could be his roommate. She accepts. Back at his place, he says that the fridge doesn't work well, and she says that's okay because she has a thing with fridges anyways. Obviously a reference here, for those who might not catch it, to fridging, which comes from a Green Lantern comic where a woman died in a fridge to then further the plot of the hero male.
Yes.
And this is a plot device used where a woman is killed in a comic to further the plot of a man.
Yes, exactly.
Pretty deplorable trope.
She doesn't own much, so the two of them go shopping and stop by a bookstore, which it's called Burley Books. And I don't think I've realized at first just how LGBT the bookstore is until I started like looking closely, and you have the big pride poster, a bear with me poster.
Yes.
Bear with me, and the bear is wearing the same shirt that Tom is wearing. And then there's a book called Beer with a Queer.
Yeah, this is a pretty like fantastic just set piece that we've got here in this comic. And I know that Caitleth actually got accused by some members of the LGBT community of basically like queer baiting throughout this comic, which,
really?
Yeah, and I don't know like how extreme that got, but I mean, I think that that's just going to happen anytime any sort of creator tries to introduce, you know, those kind of elements into a story. It's like, okay, well, you're either doing it too much or not enough.
Sure.
But, you know, she's just trying to fight the good fight and getting in there what she can. And I mean, I love Tom. I love Tom's bookstore.
Amazing.
I love Tom and I love Ian and I love just all of that. It's so
it's
nice
so
to be able to see that, you know, we've got these characters represented within this media. And it's not, I mean, they're still her buds, they're still her friends, and it's not, I mean, we don't even talk about it really, which is pretty cool.
It's also really funny that Patsy is reading a book called Butts Volume 9.
Butts Volume 9. Butts Volume Roman numeral 9.
Yeah.
Because that's how you know it's classy.
Classy butts. The shop is run by Patsy's old friend, Tom Hale, Tubbs, from those classic comics. He tells Patsy that her frenemy, Hetty, is re-releasing the old Patsy Walker stories.
Mm-hmm.
I hate Hetty Wolf. I hate Hetty Wolf like I hate Brock Rumlow. Like, the exact level of just hatred and disdain.
Same level, different reasons.
Well, they're crappy jerks, is
that's
why.
That's because you are a Hellcat, and the Hellcat also hates.
Yes.
This is where we get the line, "Stop talking and take me to beer," because Hellcat is very upset. Mm-hmm. She meets with She-Hulk to tell her.
At the nicer dive bar.
Yeah, at the nicer dive bar. And I like the part where she's holding up her phone and she says, "It does explain some of the dating app messages I've been getting lately." "You look like that girl from that book. Is Patsy your real name? Because I seen you in the comic like that. Are you old?"
And then, "Hi, mommy."
Yeah, there's just one that says, "Hi, mommy."
Yeah.
Y'all, I am so glad that I never had to deal with any sort of dating apps or anything like that. I think that I would have like just crumpled in on myself and been like, I think I'll be celibate and die alone by choice.
Personally, I think you should sign up for Tinder just to be a force for good in the world.
I don't know if that's how Tinder works. I think Tinder might be a black hole, for goodness.
We find out that Tom gave Ian a job at the bookstore because moving boxes of books will be easy with mind powers. I wish I had mind powers back when I worked at the bookstore. My back would be thanking me about now.
Aww.
Ian tells Patsy so many powered people just want normal jobs and lives. There are message board groups of them. It's just hard to find employment when your powers are noticeable. Thus leading us back to the beginning of the comic with the Super Temp Agency.
Though before she runs out of the bar, she does manage to spill Jen's martini all over her.
Yep.
Yes.
We got 2 of those now so far. This is going to pay off beautifully right at the end of the first 5 issues.
She-Hulk and the landlord think that this is a pretty good idea, but inquire what Patsy will do for money, to which she replies, "I, Patsy Walker, A.K.A. Hellcat, am going to work retail."
Yes.
And then the caption at the bottom of the page just says, "What?" With 5 A's. "See you next month." I love this. This level of interaction with the medium is just, it is my favorite thing. I'm such a comics nerd for this stuff. I love it.
Yeah, the captions at the end especially are going to get fantastic in a later issue.
Yes.
I'm so sad. That's really interesting because I don't have those in my trade. Like those aren't. Those don't.
no.
Yeah, I'm looking at the same panel, and that is not there at the bottom of that trade issue.
And you're
man.
missing out on the letters pages too, which are just a delight.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's something I didn't have a chance to read before going into this podcast, but I want to go back and read through the letters pages because I love letters pages, especially when the creator is so wonderful. Like
Yes.
I mean, it's tough because you want to buy the trade, if not the single issues, in order to support the creators.
Yes.
I have the subscription to Marvel Unlimited, so I get everything that's more than 6 months old, and you get the actual issues themselves. So you get more than just the trade experience, which is really good. You do get one of the great captions, though, right before we introduce Jessica Jones in issue 3 or issue 4. You get that, well, that's it, I guess. Wait, we've got 2 pages left? Which is... That's so good. It's so good.
It's very, very good. I do love how much of the fourth wall we unapologetically break, like just throughout this entire series. I love it so much.
I'm looking at your trade now, and you also don't get the recap pages.
No, I don't. So here's the thing. Like, I got this trade first, and then that was when I started buying. So I have the single issues of like issue 7 through the end of the series. But yeah, I don't have issues 1 through 6 at all, like in singles.
I do highly recommend Marvel Unlimited over seeking out all these single issues for these great comics because there's so many and they're going to get pricey. You're going to run out of room. Marvel Unlimited is a great thing to keep track of all that.
Buying the trade and the Marvel Unlimited subscription is actually a really good way of approaching this.
That may have to be the way that I do it.
And you get the original content.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to do this for every issue, but I will read the recap captions right at the beginning of issue 2 because they're just so good and I don't think you've seen these at all. Bad news first. Patsy got fired and evicted within minutes of each other. Then Patsy's old pal Tom Hale clued her into the hit comic book series based on her childhood, republished by none other than Patsy's worst frenemy, Hetty Wolf. But she's moving in with a new telekinetic pal, Ian Sue, so that's a plus. And now PW's got big plans, like starting her own superhero temp agency. But in the meantime, she'll be working retail. Don't make that face, it'll be fine.
Oh my God.
Which this comic really drew me in. I think it was issue 2 that I saw sitting somewhere that made me go, oh, I have to be reading this series. Because on the cover, I have all of my favorite Marvel ladies.
Yes.
You have Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, America Chavez, Squirrel Girl, Valkyrie, Kate Thompson's Hawkeye, and Monica Rambeau, known as Spectrum these days.
I love that cover. It makes me very, very happy. I love that they are just sitting around in a diner having burgers and fries and just like being awesome gal pals. I'm wicked into it.
Carol kind of hugging Kamala is... Oh, you guys. My heart can't take this. This is so lovely.
Okay, we shouldn't talk about this now because in a couple of weeks we're going to be talking about the first trade of Miss Marvel. But have Carol Danvers and Kamala Khan met yet?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Did it go well?
The first time, yeah.
Oh boy!
There's a little thing called Civil War 2 where things ended poorly for Kamala and Captain Marvel.
Oh no.
Well, Carol's not always the easiest person to be around.
Nope, especially when she decides Minority Report was a good movie to base her decisions off of.
This was an oracle about what to do.
She only watched the first half, though.
Whoops.
And so this is going to be great, guys. And Kamala said, are you using your brain? What's happening?
Could you be cool for like 5 seconds, Carol?
So the first page of this comic I really love because it just opens up with this crazy mess of a retail space. People running all over like crazy, clothes laying all over, and Patsy just standing in the middle going, I've made a huge mistake.
Have either of you guys worked retail?
Yes. I mean, I worked in a bookstore if that counts, but I have plenty of crazy stories.
I have worked in a clothing store and I recognize this.
Oh, no.
I haven't done it in 15 years, but I recognize
I only ever worked in fast food / restaurant situations.
Can we talk about how the store that she's working in is called the One Stop Crop Top Shop?
The One Stop Crop Top Shop. So it's Rue 21, basically.
Yeah, basically. But also sells leggings, as we see later.
Well, so does Rue 21.
Sure.
It also sells leggings of the same things as the crop tops so that someone can just walk up and be like, excuse me, does this come in leggings?
Is that a thing?
This is one of my favorite jokes because the crop top says the 90s and she finds a pair of leggings that are similar that say the early 2000s.
Yes.
It's so
Are you
good.
even from the 90s? Were you even born in the 90s? 1998. It's vintage.
What's
oh
funny
my
is
God.
I went to H&M the other day and they had a shirt that definitely said the 90s on it. They said 1990 or something like that.
Oh, no, I can't.
Okay. Meanwhile, Patsy is not finding the retail life easy, and her 17-year-old boss is driving her crazy. Patsy is recognized from her comics in the reprints, and she tells Ian that she is working at this retail job because they are relaxed on background checks, and she was dead for a while, which raises some flags when trying to get a job. She then notices that Ian is dressed very nicely and says, did you gussy up for the event or for Tom?
Yes.
And he says, oh, hey, is that the time? I'm going to miss my train.
You're not even wearing a watch. Nobody wears watches.
Can't hear you over how mysterious I am.
I love Ian.
This is the first point in this series that reminded me of Brian Lee O'Malley's Scott Pilgrim, because this is pretty much a conversation that Scott and Wallace Wells, his cool gay roommate, have in that book. And I love that. I love that we're doing this slice of life stuff. And yeah, you're right. I think that Kate Less, she clearly has a progressive political agenda, if you can put it in those kind of formal terms.
Sure.
But she does it with joy and with exuberance and with intimacy and affection. And we need more of her. Can we clone her? Can we clone her? Can we just...
If we clone her, I call dibs on a clone to be my best friend. First of all.
Everyone should have a Kate Less best friend.
Everyone should have a Kate Less best friend.
It's a franchise operation.
Let's start a retail job for us all to work there.
The one-stop Kate Leth shop.
Patsy dons her Hellcat garb to chase a shoplifter with a magic bag through the mall. She can't.
Is it a bag of holding?
Yeah, a bag of holding.
Basically, which is another like Ramona Flowers thing from Scott Pilgrim. Which,
Yep. She can't catch her though, and upon returning to work, she runs into Hetty, who found her through social media posts of sightings of the Patsy Walker.
Just before we cut ahead, I want to talk about the second panel in the series that made me think of Sarah. This is after she's frustrated because Hetty has released a version of her story to the world, a version of her story which isn't actually true. She rails at Ian in the middle of the mall. She won't even return my calls. Jen's been after her for a week. Haven't spoken to her in years. Well, maybe that's because you don't answer the phone, Hetty. To which Ian says, okay, it's okay. Shh, we're going to fix this. We'll call Jen and get it sorted. And Patsy says, I need at least 30 more seconds of rage.
Yes.
Then we get a panel of her furious, and she calms down. Whew, I am calm. I am a soft purring kitten. I am one with the earth. To which Ian replies, and a girl.
Yeah. No, I am Patsy Walker, as written by Kate Leth, and it makes me very happy. I don't know how she figured this out, but I'm into it.
Yeah, you really need to email her and just say, hey, this is
thanks.
me you're writing about. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I love the way that when Hetty is talking to Patsy, she looks at the polyester clothing behind her and then moves away like it's contagious.
The 100% polyester label. Beautiful.
I totally missed that. Oh my gosh.
Hetty wants to work out a deal without lawyers, specifically without She-Hulk. Patsy says, no way. And as she's leaving, she says, have fun with your midlife crisis. Chat soon. And Patsy says, maybe I will, you jerk. But, and then here again, reminds me of Sarah when she says, I will quip you so hard next time.
Yeah.
Quipping, as we said before, basically Spider-Man's primary superpower. Not, sadly, Hellcat's.
No. Nor mine.
But she did learn butt kicking and butt punching on the moon.
Yeah. Well, God, if
Vital
like,
skills.
I somehow missed the sign up for that class, and I'm sorely sad about
Sarah,
it.
the ability to butt punch was within you all along.
Oh, okay, great.
She will punch all of your buns. And if you're an evil witch, she will punch you for fun.
I'm so happy.
Which is quite relevant to our story that we're going to be covering right here. Patsy is then fired from her job.
Again.
And she sends out a text to assemble her best friends.
I love this panel of Patsy's phone where she's got all of her buds and she's got little emojis next to everyone.
Yes.
So we've got America Chavez. She's got her little American flag, a punch, and a star. Then you get Carol, a crown, a bunch of twinkles, and a punch. Doreen, Squirrel Girl, an acorn, a floppy disk, and a heart. Jen Walters, a strong arm, a pencil, a heart. Kate Bishop, a green heart specifically. Yeah. Kate Bishop, little arrow sign, a dog, I guess for lucky, Pizza dog, and then a purple heart. Monica, which is, what is that? A light bulb, a star thingy, red heart, and then Valky, horse, lightning bolt, heart.
This is perfect.
It's so good.
I need to change all of the names of my phone, I just realized.
Yeah, you just super do. And you need to give us all emojis and then tell us what those emojis are.
Yes, I do.
So the next panel, we see She-Hulk running up to Linda's Burgers with all the girls waiting outside.
That's a Bob's Burgers
I
joke,
thought
right?
that too.
Bob's Burgers
It has to be, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's gotta be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But Bob's out of the picture, apparently. She's
Oh,
taken over.
no.
He's stuck in the wall again.
Oh, Bob.
And we get some descriptions for the heroes here. Kate Bishop, A.K.A. Hawkeye, Hawk Guy, Lady Hawk Guy.
Lady Hawkeye is
America Chavez, A.K.A. Miss America, in parentheses, Chavez. Doreen Green, a.k.a. the unbeatable Squirrel Girl, and Monica Rambeau, a.k.a. Spectrum. I'm assuming Captain Marvel is in space fighting and could not be bothered to come down.
Presumably, yeah.
Probably so,
She could show
yeah.
up for
busy.
the cover, but not for the actual interior.
Right, yeah.
Which is why I think on the cover she's actually outside of the window with Miss Marvel.
Oh, I love it.
They just walk by later. You
Terrible
just don't
reception in space.
And She-Hulk says, I got here as fast as I could. Are you okay? And she says, yeah, I just really needed to blow off some steam. And she says, wait, you called an emergency meeting to ask us to get burgers?
I love throughout this, Valkyrie's dialogue is all in the Thor font.
Yes. Yep.
Absolutely. And she says, Val says, you are a terrible person and are lucky I am your friend.
So is this Val the current Thor that's in comics right now, the current female Thor, or are those two different Thors?
Those are two different Thors.
Yeah.
Okay, but Val was also a Thor?
Val is much like Thor and from Asgard, but not Thor.
Okay, so she's Valkyrie.
She is
Okay.
the Valkyrie.
The Valkyrie, got it.
Pay attention to your local movie theater listings coming up in Thor Ragnarok this summer.
Absolutely. They tell Patsy that the message boards are aware of the super temp agency that she wants to do, and people are very interested. But Valkyrie says that it may not be the best time for such mortal activities because Cassiolina is back.
Oh, the Enchantress?
Wait.
No, not the Enchantress.
Squirrel Girl leans in. Wait, who?
And then again, you're missing this in your trade, but the bottom caption just says, "My guess is we'll find out next month."
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I can't believe that's not in your... Like,
I'm so sad.
So much.
in your trade.
Yeah, I mean, the art is there and everything. There's just a little white space where there is no text. I'm so depressed.
So disappointed in your trade.
Yeah, me
Everything that
too.
it does to us.
I've just realized on the cover of issue 3, when we have the joke about Groot here, which I like a lot, and we have the lizard, which is great, that's the Enchantress.
Is that the green one?
The green one.
Yeah.
That's the Enchantress.
We've got the Enchantress.
Excellent.
Howard the Duck is there. Dr. Doom looming over here, probably waiting on like a decaf. I don't know. The redheaded lady is an Inhuman from the moon, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's Medusa.
Okay,
yeah.
and then who's the
like,
chick?
the redheaded
Oh, is
lady
that
is
Misty
Patsy
Knight with the metal arm?
And that's Misty Knight.
Nailed it. God, look at me. I'm learning so much.
Doing the thing.
The lizard is drinking coffee with his lizard tongue. That's gross.
So in issue 3, Patsy explains to Ian and Tom who Cassiolina is.
While walking past That's a Spicy Wolverine, the
A
pizza
place
joint.
called That's a Spicy Wolverine.
I may not remember to talk about it when we get to it, so I'll just say it right now. One of my favorite lines in this entire book is when Arcade refers to Hellcat as an off-model Wolverine in the last issue. That was a full-on 30-second belly laugh. That made me so joyous.
Hellcat says, well, Tom, she's from my past. She was part of how I died. It's a whole thing. Basically, she's a crazy Asgardian sorceress. According to Valkyrie, she got herself kicked out of Asgard, and now she's here in New York recruiting ne'er-do-wells to build some kind of army.
Ne'er-do-wells.
Yeah.
Always such trouble.
Always the ne'er-do-wells.
Does Ian have a Punisher thing going on? Because in the last issue, he's wearing that little shirt when he gets gussied up.
With
He's
a bunch
wearing
of
shirt
skulls?
with a lot of little Punisher logos, a lot of
Yeah,
little skulls.
yeah.
And here he's wearing like a shirt that has a big version of
Later,
that thing.
he has skull earrings, too.
I didn't
Okay,
even notice that.
I
That's
don't
so
know
good.
if it's a Punisher thing, but it may be a Ian Sue dresses how Kate Leth dresses in real life, because
into
Kate
that.
Leth also dresses like there's lots of skulls, there's lots of like sexy queer goth chick things
Like,
going on.
Hot topic in the best way possible.
Yes, absolutely.
sure.
Yeah. Sailor Moon tattoos, the whole deal. God, follow Kate Leth on Twitter. You will be a better person for it.
The group walk up to Ian's building where the landlord is throwing a couple out. He seems very mean, but then his son, Federico, walks up and apologizes. Patsy and Tom both crush on Federico immediately, but Ian pulls Patsy into the building with icicles hanging from his speech bubbles.
Yes.
Ian warns Patsy to stay away, saying no swooning. That snot-nosed little rich boy and his dad are bad news. He says anyone that the landlord, Mr. Ravina, doesn't like gets kicked out without a deposit return within a month. Patsy purposefully runs into Federico in the hall, and he says that his dad is stuck in his ways and doesn't like young people.
I like that his shirt just says state.
Yeah. Which one? Who knows?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
As he leaves, he says that he's a big fan of Patsy Walker, and when she returns, Ian calls her a hussy, but she replies, investigative hussy, thank you very much. She tells Ian that she thinks Federico is covering for his dad.
Yes, this is the introduction to what I guess serves as the primary plot through most of the rest of this first story arc. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good and anchors this story beautifully in New York, because we've already had reference to buying a secondhand mattress in New York and how you should never ever
Never, do that.
thing. Never ever do that thing, because bed bugs are everywhere waiting to strike. And then we move into this gorgeous page with 4 horizontal panels of Patsy sleeping, scratching her belly, scratching her arm, then waking up with no.
That's when the bedbugs attack. Mr. Ravina blames Patsy for bringing in the bedbugs, but she senses something mystical at work. With no proof, she goes to visit Doctor Strange.
I love this so much. I love that Stephen Strange is there just trying to like do his thing, do his meditation or whatever, and then just, hey, Steve!
Patsy, use the front door. It's 2 a.m. What are you doing here? What can you tell me about magic bugs? You came to me to talk about bugs? Then basically she says, or he tells her that she needs more mystical training. And she's like, yeah, but I need help now. What can I do now?
Patsy, the mystical arts are complex forces. You have to find a balance in order to hone your abilities. The more time you spend with your gift, the stronger your senses will be.
But what right now. If I don't stop that guy, we'll be on the street. And there's not as much time as I'd like for a training montage.
Well then, for the time being, would you let me offer you a boost?
Whoa, what? Free upgrades?
Just until you can solve your immediate concern. Later, we can work on your inherent strength.
You're the best, Doc. I think that Patsy hugs like I do, which one time my pastor at church came up to give me a hug, and then he like tensed up his whole body, and I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, you like attack hug, and so I have to like be prepared for that thing. And a lesser person would be embarrassed by that, but I want to hurt people with my love.
You embody your strength.
Yes, I do.
Just like Patsy Walker.
In the panel, Doctor Strange is being squeezed with his hand still out doing magic. I love it. Strange gives Patsy a magical upgrade to help, and she leaves Ian playing chess with Wong as she heads back to the building. Mr. Ravina convinces Federico that he needs to go into Patsy and Ian's place and steal while they are gone, saying something about impressing his new boss. As Hellcat confronts him, he summons a ton of bedbugs, and she pushes them out the window.
Oh my God, so many bugs, I'm going to barf, oh my God.
Patsy convinces Federico to do the right thing, and he confesses about Mr. Ravina pushing people out and keeping deposits in front of a bunch of the tenants, vowing to take over and to fix things. Turns out Mr. Ravina was trying to get his son hired by Casiolina by committing a crime. But Patsy has another idea, and we next see Federico wearing a Ravina Bedbugs Exterminator company jacket. Patsy turns down Federico for a date because he summons bugs, and, well, she has standards.
Girl's not wrong.
She then gets a call from her friend, quote unquote, Hetty, who says she has bad news. And that's the end of issue 3.
Mm-hmm. With the caption, 100% to be continued.
Issue 4. Patsy gets a job at Wishful Inking Tattoo Parlor from Howard the Duck's best friend, Tara. And I love the way that she changes her style, her clothing, to match the job. She's wearing a leather jacket with spikes on the shoulders.
Yep.
And she has her hair tied up in a bandana, like 50s style. It's so great.
It's pretty cute and reminds us of someone that we know in real life.
Yeah, it sure does.
Who serves us drinks from time to time, which we like quite a lot.
She does.
Yes, she does.
Tara helps Patsy figure out that you almost always swipe left on your dating app. Which they show 2 profiles, and they're pretty fantastic.
I love these so much. Yeah, can we talk about these really quick? The first one we see is a guy with a heart tattoo that says mom holding up some sort of fish, and his bio says, a gentleman and a scholar. I believe in returning to a simpler time when men could still be men. Don't be intimidated by my intelligence. And I want to punch this dude in the junk.
Yeah, that's appropriate. I don't know that you've been trained in junk punching, but it can't be
I've absolutely been trained in junk punching.
We can take you to the moon, and you can get some more training.
You just duck and jab. Like, I'm pretty like short anyway, so like I don't have to move a lot to get to the junk punching is what I'm saying. And the next guy, not here for fake girls or friend zones, a world traveler and bon vivant. Message me if you're on the naughty list. I want to punch that guy in the junk too. Men are the worst. Ian says this very early on, like in issue 1. God, men, they're just the worst. And they really are.
Ian
Present company
right.
excluded.
Yes.
Also, it should be noted that the man is clearly a pale white man at a Halloween party dressed as a Native American.
Yes.
There is nothing not gross about either of these. These are perfect encapsulations of the kind of people that you find on the internet.
Yep. Howard the Duck shows up and teases Patsy about being kicked out of her storage closet, and then shows that Tara is a fan of the Patsy Walker books and reads them in her off time.
It turns out that Howard the Duck is actually a major player in the Excelsior cinematic universe.
It turns out that we talk about Howard the Duck a lot.
Like way more than
he
people would
pops
expect.
up in all of our favorite comics.
Turns out.
We probably do need to cover the Howard the Duck written by Chip Zdarsky because it is fantastic, and that's where a lot of this is coming from.
Okay, great. Yes, because again, Howard shows up here. He showed up in Chelsea Kane's Mockingbird run, and suddenly
Guardians. So that's 3 episodes of ours at least.
Right, yeah.
Of the 10 we've done so far.
Yeah, gosh, that's a weirdly high percentage of shows that we have done. Yeah, I suddenly care about a small, angry, womanizing duck man.
Yes. And Howard introduces what is one of my favorite recurring jokes in the rest of the series. Is it weird to say she sounds exactly like Enchantress? I love that.
Nah, you're not wrong. Aside from her beef with me, there's really not much of a difference.
Oof. It's going to be rough for her.
Yes, we find out it is rough for her. We cut to Casiolina, which I think I might just start calling Casio because it's so much easier. She's
Isn't that
basically
a
a keyboard.
keyboard?
And her servant, Popo the Cunning. The girl with the magic bag is also there, and her name is Bailey.
Or as I prefer to call her, Bag Lady.
Bag Lady.
Bag Lady's a good superpowered name.
Yes, it's fantastic. Bag Lady is having trouble recruiting because no one knows who Cassio is. When Cassio tells her young underling villain wannabes that she is now offering cold hard cash for recruits and to spread the word, they're like, verbally? And Bailey posts it on a message board instead, and to the confusion of Cassio.
Can we talk really quick about the panel where Bailey pulls out this giant trophy that says Mommy's Sippy Cup on it? Yes. And I'm very into that.
And then the panel just after where Cassio says, yes, bring her to me. Don't let that cat out of the bag.
Fun fact. It somehow took us 4 issues to make this joke.
That's restraint, Kate laughed. That's good.
Meanwhile, Patsy is getting an impromptu, adorable Hellcat tattoo from Tara. Bailey.
I would get this tattoo.
Yeah, I was going to ask. All right, around this table, would you get this tattoo?
I would absolutely get this tattoo.
If I had like 6 other tattoos, I would. I don't know if it was I wanted to be my number 2.
Sure, yeah,
but
yeah.
if I was already getting like a bunch of others and I was like, yeah, I could add another, I could see myself getting this tattoo within 5 or 6 tattoos.
We should
adorable.
Get magic tattoos for this podcast.
But now they have to be of Howard the Duck, which would be weird. It's either the cap shield or it's just Howard's face chomping on a stogie, winking at a
But we get like a really little one, right? You just get like a 1-inch, like just black line duck face tattooed like on our ankles or something. We'll come back to this. This is going to be the running joke throughout the Excelsior podcast is what tattoo do we get?
Bailey, who Hellcat wonderfully calls Bag Lady, as we've already started doing so, intercepts Hellcat on her way to her meeting with Hetty and She-Hulk to deal with the rights of the books. I really like, though, when she calls her Bag Lady and she says, wait, you don't think that's actually my supervillain name, do you? And she says, oh, please, you're barely even a regular villain. And then...
True enough, Hellcat just takes her out.
Yeah.
Just deals with her.
You have a moment where she's trying to talk about all the villainous things she's done. And she's like, what? I could do more. I've jaywalked. I've downloaded movies. I once lied about having the flu to get out of an exam. And she just says, hey, are you calling for help? And Hellcat's, oh, please, if I need it. And she's taking a selfie with her. And you're right. She subdues her and then texts her friend Valkyrie to help her fight Cassio.
I love the idea that Patsy barely knows how to use her phone. Like it's
so
people who aren't great with technology have a very special place in my heart because my best friend in the whole world is basically a beautiful, perfect, lovely Neanderthal woman.
We find out that Val's Pegasus is named Aragorn.
I had no idea. I wanted to look this up. I have no idea if this is actually in canon for the rest of the series, but I want it to be very much.
I don't know if this is from like a deep cut from the comics or if this was made up for this. I'm not sure, but even Bag Lady points out Aragorn, like from the guy from Lord of the Rings. But she gets cut off by Val, who says, "Tell me where she is," with her sword in this intimidating stance, and she says, she's really powerful demigod, and Val says, she's no enchantress. And then I like when we cut to Cassio and the 3 of them being there at Cassio's lair. Cassio says, name me which part of find Hellcat and bring her to me. Sounded like allow Hellcat to call for the aid of an Asgardian warrior and capture you in the process.
None of the parts.
Popo, seize them.
Oh, my queen, the tall one, has a sword.
I shall never understand why they named you the Cunning.
Enchantress magically imprisons Hellcat, Val, and Bag Lady. Bag Lady asks to be let out, but she is refused for failing. And Hellcat rubs it in that that's what happens when you work for a villain.
Yes.
What did you expect? Val then slaps Hellcat on her tattooed shoulder, and Hellcat's like, ow! And she says, oh, are you injured? No, ow, I'm fine. It's cool. What's the matter? It's nothing. Well, I mean, it's kind of cool. Actually, I'll show you later. Yes. It's such an adorable little panel. Cassio says her forces are growing, young powered folk causing chaos, distracting heroes, all for the promise of power that she can't actually give because she's been kicked out.
This is another beat that reminds me of Cassandra Cain's Mockingbird, where we have what is, at its essence, just a really good idea. This is a really solid idea for a Marvel villain, and we're playing it very lightly. We're playing it really for comedy, but it's such a great idea. The idea that we can empowered disaffected teens, powered and recently disempowered teens.
Sure.
Where we can leverage their sense of rootlessness and their sense of ennui just to cause trouble for heroes.
Yeah.
This is so smart. I love the commentary that Kate Leth's offering.
And just like Mockingbird, we find that student loans lead to supervillainy sometimes. Because Bag Lady says, "You witch, you told me you'd give me magic. You said you could wipe out my student loans." To which Hellcat says, "She what? No, that's just cruel."
Patsy looks more upset in that panel, in that, oh, that's just cruel panel, than she does at any other point in the book.
Yes.
She does. Immediately, we sympathize with Bag Lady. Yes. Meanwhile, She-Hulk calls Ian because Patsy never showed, and Hetty is losing patience.
I love on the cover of the 5th issue here, we get this little caption. Plus, you won't believe who shows up on the last page. Psst, it's Jessica Jones.
Into that. Yes.
I also
so
like
good and unnecessary.
While a lot of these covers were already carrying this vintage feel of old comics, this one specifically with the dialogue saying, "She-Hulk, Hetty's ruining my life. I'm sorry, Patsy, but she has every right to." And then Hetty's saying, "Patsy, dear, I only have your best interest at heart, I assure you." Which reminds me of like every Golden Age Superman comic where there's this back and forth of like, "Superman, why won't you save me? I'm sorry, Lois. My hands are tied. You made this bet, now lie in it." It's like this. That's exactly like every Golden Age comic. So we start out issue 5 with Hetty pushing for a forfeit of Walker's rights to the book since she isn't showing up to the meeting. Meanwhile, Cassio asks Popo to remove the captives trio's tongues, but she gives in to his protests against this and settles for duct tape, calling him a buzzkill. Of course, the trio just tie him up with the duct tape when he goes into the little mind cell, I'm not sure what they call it, to duct tape their mouths, because what was he going to do? Yeah. Really?
When they call out to her, "Yo, discount enchantress."
Yep. One of the wannabe villains says Cassio is going to magically fix his credit score so that he can get a car. Things get heated with She-Hulk and Hetty's lawyer records the situation with great exaggeration. Speaking of She-Hulk, he says, "Swearing, unreasonable, much too tall." As Ian and Tom burst into the office, She-Hulk almost gets her drink spilled on her for a 3rd time in this comic, but Ian catches it with his mind powers.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
And I like it because it's not really brought attention to. It's just like kind of a background thing there. It's not talked about or anything. Ian knows where Patsy is from the Find Me app on her phone. So She-Hulk, Ian, and Tom head out to rescue her, but they stumble across Cassio's credit score flunky terrorizing people on the subway. And I like She-Hulk says, Are you guys really doing that destroy the people who don't understand us because of our powers bit? Because, I mean, historically, that doesn't end well for anyone. And news reports come in that dozens of other attacks are happening all over downtown. Cassio won't free Popo, and Hellcat quips, "I bet Enchantress doesn't treat her lackeys this way." Cassio attacks the group in anger, and at that moment, She-Hulk, Ian, and Tom burst through the wall on Val's Pegasus, crying, "Surprise, witch!"
That's very good.
Popo refuses to help Cassio. Ian catches rocks that she throws at the group, and Hellcat subdues her. But then Cassio tries to convince Ian to join her side, saying, "Become more powerful than any of your supposed allies. We both know mere physical strength is no match for the art of sorcery." And Val says, "Listen not to her words, boy. She's a deceiver." And Hellcat says, "For real, Ian, she's the worst." And then Baglet even comes in. "Hellcat's right. She'll promise you the world, but she's a garbage person." And Ian says, "What? You guys actually think I'm that gullible? Like, why are you all telling me I don't need to do this?"
One of my favorite moments in the sequence is when Jen Walters helps Patsy up and she says, "Nice timing, you beautiful emerald goddess," which is the most Leslie Knope line that is
It really
imaginable.
Yes.
Cassio thinks that her minions are still destroying the city, but She-Hulk explains that that's not the case. And we cut to her explaining to the credit score flunky that how exactly credit scores work, saying that there's no way that she would be capable of helping. And he realizes that, oh yeah, that's not going to work, huh? I'm going to go ahead and tell the others to stop blowing stuff up. And she's like, "If you don't mind."
So he picks up his cell phone and says, "Hey, dudes, yeah, it's Phil. Bad news, Magic Lady's a hoax. Shut it on down."
Which I like that She-Hulk offers. She says, "I can help you out if you'd like. It just takes time and good budgeting." Popo snaps at Cassio, who continues her evil complaining. He reveals that it was he who called the cavalry. He tells the tale of how Cassio lost her temper at someone for mistaking her for Enchantress at the dinner table in Asgard. He was banished along with her just because he was her manservant. She was cranky and taking it out on him while forming a group of young powered people like a cult leader. He saw things heading south, so he used Hellcat's phone to send an emergency signal to Ian. Earlier, we saw that when Val got the Pegasus back, she looked in her bag and said, has someone gone through my things? Which ties right back to this. I like those small details.
Yes.
And then he says, I'm Popo the Cunning, remember? I never signed up to be super evil. I'm more chaotic neutral, really. Plus, I figured a superhero's got to have someone pretty powerful as their emergency contact, which makes She-Hulk question, wait, why did your emergency signal go to Ian? And Ian confesses he was in a hurry when setting it up. Patsy makes her pitch to Bag Lady for her superpowered temp agency, and Cassio says, you can't save them all. What happens when you find those with no good in them? And Patsy says, don't mistake compassion for weakness. I know there's evil out there and people like you who only look out for themselves and don't care who they hurt on their way to the top. I also know that some of those people can change, can be better, even if it takes a long time and a lot of work. I'm not just going to give everyone a pass. I'll kick the butts that need kicking.
Hell yeah, Patsy.
But I know the difference between a villain and a mistake. Do you?
It's very good.
Patsy's pretty great.
Patsy's pretty great.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
It's like fun and humorous as this comic is. It does have those moments where it's like, yeah, that's good. I like it. So that's one of the things I love about this comic. It's just such a great balance of all
Patsy's
these things.
A legit hero. She
Yeah.
really is, and she should be doing this.
Yeah.
And, it's so good.
Afterwards, She-Hulk promises to help Bag Lady out, and through Hellcat having convinced her, which She-Hulk says, you really couldn't ask for anyone better to have your back than Patsy, Bailey, which is true. And then Val comes flying by on her Pegasus with Popo and not quite the Enchantress, saying, I shall return once Cassio is dealt with, and Popo returned home.
Yes.
I love it. They're just flying by. They're saying bye.
See ya!
Heading back to She-Hulk's office, landlord Sharon shows Patsy that she put her name on the door of the storage closet for the temp agency as a gift, but she still can't sleep there.
We also get a great beat from Bag Lady. Wait, you're Patsy Walker?
Yeah. Ian notices her new tattoo, and we almost get an ending, but the narration corrects itself saying, oh, there's 2 more pages still? Hetty has hired Jessica Jones to dig up some dirt on Patsy.
Yeah, this full page splash of Jessica Jones is fantastic.
It's really very good.
I completely love it. And the caption just reads, oh, right, that. Guess you better come back next month, huh? Which
I love Jessica Jones. At some point, we're going to have to talk about the series as a whole over there on Netflix. It's very, very good. Anyway, we won't spend too much time here, but God, I love Jessica Jones.
So that's the end of the first story arc, and that's the end of Brittany Williams' art on this series, because with the last issue in this trade, we get Natasha Allegri's art, and I have to confess, I had to read this issue twice, because the first time I read it, I just kind of resented that it wasn't Brittany Williams. I just couldn't quite get it.
And she comes back for the rest of the series. she just doesn't do issue 6.
Yeah, within this volume, that's it. But reading it again, I really warmed to this art. It is much more cartoonish, but I'm into that.
Yeah, I actually really like the art.
Yeah,
I like it a lot too. I really like Natasha Allegri's art. I enjoy. If you haven't seen her series Bee and Puppy Cat, check it out on YouTube. Yep. It's very cute, very darling.
Natasha Allegri is best known because she is a storyboard revisionist for Adventure Time, and she is the creator of Bee and Puppy Cat.
Yes. Which is a thing of beauty.
It's so good.
But this issue, specifically, her art style really lends itself to that manga form. There's a lot of those moments where you have the chibi versions or the over-expressive things where a little sweat drop coming down from the head. I love all of those things.
Yeah, again, all of that just spoke to me so, like, I know, I mean, like, it's funny, like, if you draw something like that, like, if you're an artist or, like, if you have comics and, like, you do something like that, people will look at that and be like, why do they have a giant water drop next to their head? And it's like, oh, you don't, okay, never mind. It was too long to explain. Don't even worry about it. But yeah, this was a language that, like, I have inherently understood for years. And so I just really appreciated that.
Patsy is answering calls for the temp agency. And I love it. She says, Patsy Walker's temp agency for people with extraordinary abilities and other copyright-free terms. It's a working title, but, hello? She-Hulk, Ian, and Tom show up to take Patsy on a day off at the beach, which I like the little captions below each of them. Jennifer Walters, A.K.A. She-Hulk, favorite outdoor activity? Justice. Also, volleyball. Ian Sue, A.K.A. Patsy's roommate. Dream vacation destination? Tokyo Disney Sea. No question. Tom Hale, A.K.A. bookstore owner and Patsy's childhood pal. Number of trashy vampire novels in backpack? 4.
This is
Just in his backpack, just right now.
so very Scott Pilgrim. I love it.
Yep.
Also, his backpack looks, we don't see the back of it just yet, but Tom's backpack looks shockingly like Finn's hat from Adventure Time.
Yes.
Jen needed a break, and Tom says Burley books his clothes while the AC gets fixed. And Ian quips, yeah, it's way too hot in there. And gets a nice wink from Tom.
Yep.
The art is so perfect for these reactions. Patsy solves Jen's train mystery with an Adventure Time-esque exclamation. And they're
There's
going
another
to Coney
one.
Island.
Oh my god, so there's like 4 McElroy references throughout.
As the crew begins to have fun, we see Jessica Jones spying from a distance. While Patsy plays at the arcade, who should show up but the supervillain, Arcade. And the caption reads, oh no, it's Arcade, a.k.a. like really bad news. This guy's super evil, maybe too evil for our comic? Oh gosh, oh no. Which I know Arcade mostly from the X-Men. He's obviously been involved in some other comics as well. He's a super murdery villain who likes creating elaborate death traps that he calls murder worlds. Yes. His only friend and assistant tries to kill him every year on his birthday, and he thinks that's a wonderful gift.
What?
Arcade is great and also bonkers. Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Like all of my experience with comic books.
He's really lends himself to every X-Men video game. There's always a level where you're playing in a pinball machine or something that's trying to kill you. It's fantastic. I like the moment too when Hellcat summons her suit but realizes she's on the beach and there's lots of sand and she's like, I'm gonna get sand in here, Jen. Have you ever had wet sand get on spandex? Because I'm telling you, and it's just like this cartoon version of She-Hulk carrying her by the spandex of her suit, like the nape of her neck, while she's all like balled up. It's so great. She says, let's go, kid. It's so fantastic. Hellcat jumps right in when Arcade is talking to a child, and the child exclaims, She-Hulk! Patsy says, and Hellcat, and the child responds, who? With the little sweat drop. Who? Arcade transports She-Hulk, Hellcat, Ian, and Tom and explains he returned to Coney Island because he was feeling nostalgic.
Because he has constructed murder worlds across New York, mostly New York, I guess, but Coney Island is where he started.
Yes.
That's kind of cute.
That's so wild.
He wants him to test his new game and captures Tom for the prize since Tom isn't a superhero of any form. Arcade says no using your superpowers, and he straps Ian into a car game that shocks him as he loses to Arcade. She-Hulk transforms to her human self and fights Arcade at skee-ball that blasts the balls back at you. And the team cheers her on by saying, it's not just She-Hulk, it's We-Hulk. She beats Arcade at the game, and he is hit in the throat with a ball, which is a fantastic scene.
Yes.
It's beautiful. He then challenges Patsy to a test your strength hammer game and is befuddled when she wins, saying, how? What? You're so tiny.
I do Krav Maga, dude. I'm like really fit.
I like that she's flexing. There's a little bump and the little lines coming off of it. It's so fantastic.
No, oh God, I love Patsy so much.
As he complains that they cheated, Patsy knocks him out with the hammer. They need to deal with Arcade, clean up, and call the cops. Hellcat looks so sad at this, and She-Hulk decides to take care of everything while the other three get ice cream. This is when Jessica Jones reveals herself, saying that she discovered Hellcat's alter ego in 2 days, and that most others could probably do so in a week. But she's here to help.
She's also sitting on a giant banana that says, please do not sit.
Yes. Well, she's Jessica Jones. She
does
pay
what
attention
she
to
wants.
your rules and signs.
She doesn't care about your rules.
Yeah.
And her phone says bun punch.
I actually really love this version of Jessica Jones. She's adorable.
Yeah.
She's pretty fantastic. Yeah. It really makes me want an Adventure Time styled show based off of Hellcat, this whole issue with Jessica Jones, She-Hulk, and
that would be
Arcade.
amazing.
I would Arcade.
No, Arcade's a great villain.
All of the Marvel heroes just in an Adventure Time animated type world with that sense of humor and that sense of, I don't know, like
whimsy.
Whimsy,
yeah.
Whimsy.
Superheroes should be fun.
Yes. I want this so much.
And that is the first trade of Hellcat. You guys, it's really, really good. If you listen to all of this and you're like, what the hell is going on? And no thank you, may not be for you. If you were listening to this and you were like, wait, they make jokes and they have fun and they make pop culture references, please pick up this book. It is so, so good. It's, absolutely fantastic. Joyous, whimsical, a beautiful, sweet cinnamon roll of a superhero.
Well, and smart, too, which is the thing that I love most about it. It reminds me of the work of Ryan North. It reminds me of Pendleton Ward's work, absolutely, on Venture Time and Bravest Warriors, because it is dense and it is complex and it is just packed full of incidental detail.
Well, oh, cats, that brings us to the end of our episode.
It sure does.
What are we doing next week, Sarah?
Next week, we're gonna go. Okay, so normally on this show we talk about things that like we love with unironic abandon. Next week, I thought it would be really funny if we did Suicide Squad the movie. Just as, you know, like for some light, I was gonna say reading, but that's not accurate. You know, just some light. Look, this movie's not very good, but it was really fun and dumb, and so we're gonna do that. You know, we're really just filling up time until Spider-Man Homecoming comes out, is what we're doing. Yes. Yeah, so next week we're gonna talk about Suicide Squad, the film, and I anticipate that we will have a good time.
No need to bring your umbrellas. We'll bring the shade.
That's good. That's very good. I mean, I have some good things to say about the movie. Not a lot, but some. So, yeah.
We'll try to keep it fun and not just complaining.
Right, yeah, we don't want to just spend the entire time like griping, moaning, and complaining. But I mean, I do think that it'll be interesting talking about something that we don't necessarily have just a lot of our own personal like heart put into.
Yeah, I think it'll be like the podcast version of our riff tracks.
Yeah, basically,
sure.
yes.
To that?
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
who knows? I haven't seen Suicide Squad yet. I'm going to watch it this week. I might love it.
You might. You won't. And then after that, we're getting back into comics again. We're going to be doing the first trade of Miss Marvel by G. Willow Wilson, which is amazing, and I highly recommend it.
So good.
Yes, so good. So we're going to be doing that. And then after that, we're going to try to do Spider-Man Homecoming like as soon as possible. We may need an extra week after it comes out on July 7th, but we're going to try our best to like make that happen.
There's pretty much no way we're not all going to see that opening weekend
That's
together
true. Yeah,
wearing
no.
Team Friendship shirts.
Yes.
So that's
Oh my God, I have to make Team Friendship shirts
every day of that weekend, maybe?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Just like I did with Wonder Woman. It'll be beautiful and perfect and wonderful. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We really enjoy doing the show. We love having you guys around with us. If you want to follow us over on Twitter, you can follow us collectively at Excelsior Cast. You can follow me personally at Sarah Kate Pizant.
You can follow me at Point North Media.
I'm at Flesh Eater, and you can hear more from me from the Read Brave Comics podcast.
Which is an excellent podcast, and I highly recommend.
One of my favorites.
It's so good.
So good.
Not only because we occasionally show up over there.
From time to time.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's also a good show.
We know when he's recording. We'll just show up and bang on the door until he lets us in.
Hey.
And I should plug that I just interviewed Ramon Perez, who is an amazing comic artist and author who just finished his run on Nova, is working on the upcoming Spider-Man Generations, has worked on X-Men and Spider-Man before, and did Jim Henson's Tale of Sand.
That's amazing. Wow.
Pretty huge. That last one, a big deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really very good. So, yep, that's going to do it for us this week. Again, next week, we're going to be doing Suicide Squad, the movie, which I can't say with a straight face. And we look forward to chatting with you guys about that. So, until next time, I'm Sarah K. Pizant.
I'm Alistair Stevens.
And I'm Vinton Bain. And we'll see you next week. Same cat time, same cat channel.
Excelsior!